Divorced men. When she said you owe her forever, how did she react when forever was 2 years? Story 1. My ex Tessa used to call alimony my pension, not support, not temporary. A pension, like I was her employer and she was retiring from the hardship of being married to me. The divorce decree said 24 months, modifiable only if she stayed in school full-time. She heard one word, forever. Month 1, she texted me a meme, payday. Month 6, she upgraded apartments and started posting soft life reels with captions like, I'm finally being taken care of the way I deserve. Whenever someone asked what she did for work, she'd laugh and say, my ex pays my bills. He owes me forever. I didn't respond. I just kept receipts, every payment, every message. At month 19, she announced she was going back to school. Her campus was a yoga studio and a certificate program that met 2 Saturdays a month. She emailed me an invoice like she was billing a client. Tuition reimbursement is expected. She also demanded I renew alimony because 2 years is cruel. So I hired an attorney and filed a motion early, asking the court to confirm the end date and clarify what qualified as school. The hearing was brutal in the most boring way. My lawyer handed the judge her Instagram post where she bragged she'd never work again, plus the brochure for her program. The judge didn't raise his voice. He just looked at her and said, Ms. Carter, the order is 24 months. That is what you agreed to. This is not a lifetime entitlement. Then he turned to me. Mr. Carter, you are released from support obligations on the termination date. Outside the courtroom, Tessa snapped. She yelled that I was stealing her future. She shoved her phone in my face and screamed, you owe me forever. My attorney walked past her like she was a street performer and said, forever was 2 years. Put it in your calendar. Tessa's face did something I'll never forget, like her brain was trying to bargain with math. Story 2. My ex-wife, Diane, turned our divorce into a religion and alimony was her tithe. She told everyone the judge awarded her money because I ruined her life. The actual order? 2 years of transitional support while she re-entered the workforce. She didn't re-enter anything. She moved into a high-rise with her new boyfriend, bought a designer dog, and started calling herself a stay-at-home girlfriend. She'd send me screenshots of expensive dinners with the caption, thanks for paying for my healing. Every time I brought up the end date, she'd reply the same line, you owe me forever for what you put me through. The twist was, she believed it. Like, spiritually. At month 22, she tried to renegotiate with threats. She said if I didn't do the right thing, she'd go public about what a monster I was. Then she demanded I sign an agreement extending payments until she felt stable. I didn't sign. I didn't argue. I just stopped discussing it and followed the order. 2 years hit like a brick wall. The last payment went through and I got a text 2 minutes later. Payment failed. Fix it. I waited until morning and replied with a screenshot of the decree. Highlighted, termination, 24 months. Her response, nice try. That's not enforceable, so she filed contempt. We showed up in court and the judge asked her, which payment did he miss? She said, the ones after the 2 years, like that was a normal sentence. The judge stared at her for a full 5 seconds, then said, ma'am, there are no payments after 2 years. That's what 2 years means. Diane started crying, loud and theatrical, and told the judge I was abandoning her. The judge didn't even look impressed. He just dismissed her motion and warned her about wasting court resources. In the hallway, Diane lunged toward me and hissed, you can't do this. I decided you owe me forever. And for the first time in years, I smiled and said, cool, take it up with the calendar. Story 3. My ex, Kira, treated alimony like a subscription service. She even nicknamed it the Kira Fund. When we divorced, she posted a long thread about how she escaped me and secured lifelong support. The court order was short and clear, 24 months. Kira's friends started calling me her sponsor. She'd tag me in stories, blocked me right after, so mutuals would screenshot it. She moved in with roommates and told them, don't worry, my ex covers my half. Then she got fired from her job and didn't bother replacing it because why would I work when he owes me? I counted the months like a prison sentence. At month 24, I paid the last installment and sent the formal notice my lawyer drafted. Payments complete, obligation satisfied. Very polite. Very boring. Kira didn't go boring. She showed up at my office building at 8:30 a.m. in heels and rage. Security called me down because she was family and refused to leave. She waved her phone like a warrant and shouted, he can't cut me off. He owes me forever. People were filming. Receptionists were peeking. It was a full lobby show. I walked out with my attorney on speaker. Kira screamed that she'd destroy me. She yelled she'd call my boss. She demanded I sign a new agreement right now, extending support until she remarries. which was hilarious because she had a boyfriend and bragged about it daily. Security asked her to step outside. She refused and started listing everything she sacrificed in the marriage, like my paycheck was blood money. I held up the printed decree and said, "Kira, it's 2 years. It's done." She snatched the paper out of my hand and ripped it in half like that would change reality. Security escorted her out while she shrieked, "You don't get to decide, it's over." And I said, loud enough for the whole lobby, "I didn't decide. The judge did. 2 years ago." The next day, I got an email from her with the subject line, "Negotiation, body." Okay, but what if we do, like, 6 more months? That was the moment I realized forever was just her word for "until you make me stop." Story 4. When my ex-wife Lauren said I owed her forever, she didn't mean money. She meant control. The alimony order was 2 years, and she used it like a leash. Every month she'd text, "Don't forget what you did." If I didn't answer, she'd add, "I can always ask the court for more." She'd sprinkle little threats into normal conversations like seasoning. "Hope you're behaving. Would be a shame if the judge heard about you dating." 2 years was supposed to be transitional support. For Lauren, it was a countdown to panic. At month 21, she started testing boundaries. She demanded I pay her phone bill because it's basically part of support. Then she demanded I cover her car repairs because she needs transportation to heal. Then she demanded I co-sign a lease. When I said no, she told me, "You can't cut me off. You owe me forever. I'll make you." So I did the unromantic thing. I stopped communicating except through email. Every request got the same response. "Not required by order." I kept copies. Then, 3 weeks before the end date, she sent a long message saying she had new trauma and the court would extend support indefinitely. She attached a letter from a life coach saying she was emotionally unable to work. Court day, Lauren came in dressed like a widow. She cried softly and told the judge she'd never recover from the divorce. My attorney asked one question, "Ms. Harper, is this your online store?" and put up screenshots of Lauren selling healing goddess kits and bragging, "I'm self-employed and thriving." Lauren froze. Then she tried to claim it was just a hobby. The judge didn't buy it. He denied her extension, ordered the support to end as written. Outside, Lauren's grief costume dropped instantly. She got right in my face and hissed, "You think you won?" I said, "No. I think 2 years happened." She screamed, right there on the courthouse steps, "You owe me forever!" And a woman walking by, some random stranger, looked Lauren dead in the eye and said, "Honey, forever already ended." Lauren turned so red she looked sunburnt. And for the first time since the divorce, she didn't have a script. Story 5. My ex, Monica, was the type to turn any agreement into an entitlement. When the decree said 2 years of spousal support, she heard 2 years until he admits he still loves me. She'd call the payments proof I was still responsible for her life. She'd text me photos of her nails. "Just got these done. Should I thank you?" She'd send selfies at brunch. "You're paying for this, right?" She even told my sister at a family BBQ, "He owes me forever. It's his penance." I didn't fight her on the ego stuff. I stayed calm. I just made sure the payments were on time and the paperwork was clean. Then a month before the end date, Monica called me crying. She said she was terrified and asked if we could talk like adults about extending it. I almost felt bad, until she slipped and said, "I mean, it's not like you'd let me struggle. You're not that cruel." I told her, "The order ends next month." Silence. Then the crying stopped like someone flipped a switch. Her voice went cold. "You can't stop. I'll ruin you." She tried to sabotage my job. She emailed my boss a long rant about my abuse, attached random out-of-context texts, and demanded my company hold me accountable. My boss forwarded it to HR. HR asked for documentation. I handed them the divorce order and my attorney's letter. HR sighed and said, "So, this is about alimony ending?" "Yep." When the last payment hit, Monica did the grand finale. She showed up at my mom's house with a suitcase, claiming she was moving back in, because "You still have obligations." My mom opened the door, saw the suitcase and said, "To where?" Monica said, "Here. He owes me forever." My mom smiled like she'd been waiting her whole life to use one sentence. "Sweetheart, forever was 2 years. The checkbook isn't your home." Monica started screaming on the porch, neighbors staring, suitcase tipping over, her mascara streaking down her face as she yelled, "He can't do this!" And my mom, calm as a surgeon, closed the door while Monica was mid-sentence. That sound? The click of the lock? That was Monica finally hearing what 2 years actually meant. Story 6. My ex, Bree, treated the divorce order like a lifetime contract. She'd say things like, "You don't get to quit being my provider just because you got bored." Meanwhile, the decree was crystal. 24 months. No extensions unless she could prove a medical disability. Bree didn't have a disability. She had a new boyfriend with a motorcycle and an addiction to posting soft life content. She'd upload videos of spa days and caption them. Healing isn't cheap. Then she'd DM me. Make sure the payment clears early. I have plans. Around month 18, she started testing the limits. Since you still pay me, you should also cover my insurance. Then it became, if you cared at all, you'd pay my phone. Then, real men don't cut women off. I never argued. I just kept everything in writing. 2 months before the end date, she sent me a proposal, like a business email. She wanted me to sign an agreement to continue paying until she finds herself, with a clause that I'd owe penalties if I was late. I replied with one sentence. The order ends on the termination date. She exploded. Called me selfish, called me broke, then pivoted to, you'll miss me. You'll come back. When the final month hit, she tried the big move. She filed an emergency motion saying I was financially manipulating her by threatening to end support. In court, the judge asked her, what is the threat? Bree said, he's ending it. He knows I'm used to it. The judge blinked twice and said, used to something doesn't make it permanent. After the hearing, Bree chased me down the courthouse steps and screamed, you owe me forever. I turned around and said, calm, then sue the calendar. It's the one that did this to you. She stood there, shaking, staring at her own paperwork like it was written in another language. Story 7. My ex-wife, Nadia, had a phrase she loved. You're going to take care of me for the rest of my life. She said it with the confidence of someone ordering dessert. The actual order was 2 years of transitional support because she paused her career during the marriage. That pause turned out to be her quitting a job she hated 2 weeks before filing for divorce. But the court didn't care about our feelings, just the numbers. Nadia moved into a trendy building and bought furniture on credit. She bragged at parties that she won the divorce. Every time someone asked how long alimony lasted, she'd wave her hand. Long enough. Then I started dating again. That's when Nadia's forever got loud. She began sending midnight texts. I gave you your best years. You owe me. Don't pretend you're happy. If I didn't answer, she'd text my girlfriend from fake numbers. Little jealous jabs. Little threats. At month 23, she sent me a screenshot of a luxury vacation package and wrote, you'll cover this as a final apology. I didn't respond. I just paid the final payment on schedule. The day after the last payment, Nadia called the payment processor and tried to claim fraud, saying my account still owed her. When that failed, she filed contempt. She walked into court smiling like she expected applause. The judge asked, what payment is missing? Nadia said, the one after the last one. There was a long silence. So long you could hear someone's keys clink in the gallery. The judge leaned forward and said, Ms. Ivanov, you are requesting money that is not ordered. That is not contempt. That is wishful thinking. Nadia's smile cracked. She started crying instantly and accused me of abandoning her. The judge dismissed it, then warned her about harassment. In the hallway, Nadia hissed, you'll regret this. I'll make you pay. I looked at her and said, I did pay. For exactly 2 years. Her face went pale like the number finally landed. Story 8. My ex, Serena, used to call herself a kept woman, even after we split. She told people I funded her transition into her next chapter. That next chapter seemed to involve bottle service and a rotating cast of men named Tyler. Our divorce order was boring. 24 months of spousal support, ending automatically. She heard automatic and assumed it meant automatically continues. In month 20, she started acting like a landlord collecting rent. If the payment landed at 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m., she'd send, late. If I didn't respond, she'd add, I can take you back to court. I warned my attorney and we prepared. Right before the end date, Serena tried to bait me. She invited me to talk closure at a cafe. I didn't go. She posted a story from that cafe anyway. A photo of 2 coffees with the caption, he knows he still owes me. Then she did the dumbest thing. She emailed me a spreadsheet titled Forever Support Plan, complete with projected raises, inflation adjustments, and a line item for emotional damages. That email became Exhibit A. When she filed to extend alimony, the judge asked her why she needed more time. Serena said, because I built my lifestyle around it. My attorney handed the judge her spreadsheet. The judge stared at it, then at her, then said, Ms. Reed, this is not how support works. This reads like a business plan to monetize divorce. Serena snapped in the courtroom. Not a gentle cry, an actual snap. She stood up and shouted, he owes me forever. The bailiff stepped forward immediately. The judge didn't flinch. He just said, sit down. Your motion is denied. Serena sat back down like someone cut her strings, and I realized her whole power was in believing she could scream a number into existence. Story 9. My ex-wife, Carla, made forever her personality. She'd say it in front of other people to embarrass me. At my niece's birthday party, she toasted herself and said, "To the man who will be paying me forever." Everyone laughed awkwardly. I didn't. I just reminded myself, 2 years. Carla spent the first year acting like she'd won a lottery. She bought designer bags and posted captions like, "When your ex funds your glow-up." Then she started dating a guy who called himself an entrepreneur, but mostly just lived in her apartment. At month 17, she asked me to pay her moving costs because she needed a fresh start. At month 19, she asked me to pay for her branding photos because she was starting a business. At month 21, she asked me to co-sign a loan. That's when I realized she wasn't building a life. She was building a cliff. A month before termination, she called me crying and said, "I'm scared." I almost felt bad, until she followed it with, "So you'll keep paying, right? You wouldn't just leave me like that," I told her. It ends when it ends. The last payment hit and Carla went nuclear. She showed up at my apartment building and started pounding the buzzer. When I didn't answer, she screamed into the intercom that I was a deadbeat and she'd ruin me. My neighbor recorded the whole thing. Carla then called the cops and tried to claim I stole her money. The officer showed up, asked for documentation, and I handed him the decree. He read the end date, looked at Carla and said, "Ma'am, this ended. There's nothing to enforce." Carla shouted, "He owes me forever." The cop said, "Deadpan, forever had a date on it." Carla's mouth opened like she wanted to argue with physics. Story 10. My ex, Lily, didn't just expect alimony. She expected my attention with it. Every payment came with a demand for a conversation. "We should talk. I need closure. I deserve respect." The decree said 24 months. Lily translated that into 24 months of access to my life. So I did everything clean. Paid on time. Communicated through email. No drama. That made her angrier. At month 22, she tried to pull me back in. She sent a message. "I'm thinking about what we had. Maybe we can start over. And of course the support will continue because it's part of our bond." That was the first time I laughed out loud. 2 weeks before the end date, Lily invited my mom to lunch. My mom went, thinking it was peacemaking. Lily cried at the table and told my mom she was terrified of being cut off, then slid a paper across the table. An extension agreement. She wanted my mom to pressure me into signing. My mom called me after and said, "She thinks I'm your manager." When the last payment hit, Lily didn't call me. She called my mom, then my sister, then my aunt. She told everyone I was abandoning her and breaking the judge's promise. Finally, she showed up at my workplace with flowers, like she was staging a rom-com. She walked into the lobby and announced, loud, "I'm here to talk to my husband." Security asked her to leave. She refused and shouted, "He owes me forever." My manager came out, confused, and asked, "Ma'am, what is this about?" Lily pointed at me and said, "He's cutting me off." My manager blinked and said, "Isn't that the point of a divorce?" Lily froze, like nobody had ever said that sentence out loud around her. Security escorted her out while she screamed about betrayal. And I stood there thinking, she didn't want money. She wanted a story where she still mattered. Forever. Story 11. My ex, Haley, used to call alimony my lifetime settlement. She'd say it like a title she earned. The order was 24 months, but she told her friends it was open-ended, because judges always extended if you ask with tears. She treated the payments like a flex. She'd post a new outfit and caption, "Paid for by consequences." Then she started dating a guy who was between opportunities, which meant he slept on her couch and ate groceries she ordered with the money I sent. At month 20, she tried to turn the leash into a whip. She texted, "If you want peace, you'll keep paying after the 2 years." I ignored her. She texted again, "You owe me for wasting my prime." 2 weeks before termination, she filed a motion to extend support for hardship. Her hardship was basically, she didn't want to downsize. In court, Haley came in with a binder and a shaking voice. She said she couldn't work because she had anxiety from the divorce. The judge asked what she'd done to address it. She said, "I've been focusing on self-care." My attorney handed over her public posts. Haley at clubs, Haley on a beach, Haley at a manifestation retreat, with the caption, "I don't do 9 to 5 energy." Then we produced her lease renewal application showing she claimed the alimony as ongoing income. The judge's tone sharpened. "Ms. Lane, this support was meant to transition you, not to subsidize a lifestyle you refuse to adjust." Haley's eyes went wide like she'd never heard the word refuse applied to her. Her motion was denied. The judge warned her about harassment and frivolous filings. Outside, Haley cornered me by the elevators and hissed, "You're going to pay for this." I said, "I already did. For exactly 2 years." She screamed, right there with people watching, "You owe me forever." And the bailiff, without missing a beat, pointed at the posted courtroom schedule and said, "Ma'am, Forever isn't on the docket. Story 12. My ex-wife, Raina, had a gift for turning any boundary into an insult. The decree said 24 months of support. She heard, 24 months until he admits guilt and keeps funding my life. She'd send me voice notes like she was talking to a child. Remember, don't be late. You're making amends. She'd even tell her friends on speaker, he owes me forever. I made him. Month 23, she invited me to dinner to discuss the future. I refused. She then sent a legal-looking PDF. She typed herself titled Spousal Support Continuation Agreement. It had a fake signature line and everything. I forwarded it to my attorney. My attorney forwarded it back with one sentence. No. That's when Raina tried to weaponize shame. She emailed my workplace from a burner account claiming I was evading court-ordered payments. HR got involved. I provided the order, payment history, and the termination clause. HR's reply to her was polite but brutal. This matter appears resolved. Raina filed contempt anyway. In court, the judge asked, did he miss a payment? Raina said, he's about to. The judge rubbed his forehead. Anticipating the end of an order is not contempt. Raina's face twisted. She said, but I built my budget around him. He promised. The judge looked at the decree. He did not promise. The court ordered 24 months. That ends. Raina started sobbing and called me a narcissist. Then she switched to yelling, you owe me forever! The judge's voice went ice cold. One more outburst and you will be removed. Your motion is denied. Outside, Raina followed me to the parking lot, still shaking with rage. She screamed, you think you're free? I got in my car, locked the door, and rolled the window down just enough to say, I'm not free. I'm compliant. That line hit harder than any insult. She stood there like she didn't know how to fight paperwork. Story 13. My ex, Madison, always hated the idea that something could have an end date. She was a big-picture person, meaning she liked commitments as long as she wasn't the one making them. When she got 2 years of support, she acted like she'd been crowned. She told her mom, he's going to pay me forever. Her mom started calling me our benefactor, like I was a charity. Madison spent the first year remodeling her kitchen in a rental. I'm not joking. She put money into upgrades she'd never own, because she thought the stream would never stop. At month 22, she texted me, so what's the plan when this ends? I replied, it ends. She responded, no, I mean, what's the plan for the extension? Then she tried the emotional angle. She sent a long message about how she sacrificed everything for me. Then she attached a photo of herself crying. Then she said, if you cut me off, you're proving you never loved me. I didn't bite. I just said, please communicate through email. The last payment went through. The next morning, she showed up at my place with a moving box and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm here to pick up my check, she said. I told her, there is no check. She laughed like I was joking. Then she saw my calm face and her smile collapsed. You can't do this, she whispered. I planned everything. She started shouting. Neighbors opened doors. Madison pointed at me like I'd committed a crime and yelled, he owes me forever. My upstairs neighbor, a retired teacher, walked down the steps in slippers, looked at Madison and said, honey, forever is a word. 2 years is a number. Madison turned on her, furious, but it was too late. The crowd had heard the truth and her performance suddenly looked embarrassing. She left the box on my porch like it was a curse and stormed off, crying and swearing at the sky. Story Chitrapatsmit. My ex-wife Janelle used to say, you don't get to divorce me from your wallet. She said it with a laugh, but there was always a threat underneath. She treated the 2-year support like a hostage negotiation. If I didn't answer her calls, she'd say, careful. Judges don't like men who ignore their obligations. She'd purposely use words like obligations and duties, like we were still married. At month 19, she tried to renegotiate through intimidation. She said she'd tell people what I did if I didn't take care of her properly. When I asked what she meant, she said, you know, forever. So I started recording everything, emails, texts, voicemail. And I warned my attorney. 2 months before the end date, she filed for an extension claiming she was unemployed and unable to find work. My attorney subpoenaed her recent job applications. Turns out she wasn't unable. She was unwilling. She'd applied to exactly 3 jobs in 8 months, all of them wildly above her experience level. She wanted a manager title or nothing. In court, the judge asked her, why did you refuse these offers? And listed 2 entry-level positions she'd been offered. Janelle said, those are beneath me. The judge leaned back. Support is not meant to preserve pride. It is meant to support transition. Your transition ends. Janelle's face went rigid. She looked at me like I'd betrayed her. When the judge denied the extension, Janelle stood up and shouted, he owes me forever. The bailiff moved. The judge slammed the gavel and said, sit down. That is not how this works. Outside, Janelle tried to whisper threats again, but her voice shook. You'll crawl back? I said, no. I'll just keep walking. And that was the first time she realized she couldn't litigate someone into loving her. Story 15. My ex, Paige, was obsessed with the word deserve. She deserved a better husband, a better apartment, a better life, and apparently, she deserved my paycheck indefinitely. When she got 2 years of support, she started calling it my forever money. She'd even tell people, he's paying me forever. That's what happens when you hurt a good woman. The funny part? I didn't hurt her. I caught her cheating with a coworker and filed for divorce. She still rewrote the narrative so she was the victim. Near the end, Paige got desperate. She started calling from different numbers, leaving voicemails like, we need to talk. You can't just abandon me. Then she'd switch to rage. If you stop paying, I'll take everything. On the last month, she showed up at the courthouse and filed a motion the same day, trying to claim the order didn't specify an end date. It did, in bold. We went to the emergency hearing. Paige walked in acting confident, like she'd found a loophole. The judge looked at the decree, looked at her motion, then looked back at the decree again like he couldn't believe the audacity. Ms. Grant, he said slowly, the end date is here. On page 2, paragraph 3, Paige's face twitched. Well, yes, but I assumed. The judge cut her off. Assumptions are not orders. This ends in 2 weeks. Motion denied. Paige stood up so fast her chair scraped. She pointed at me and shouted, you owe me forever. The judge didn't even yell. He just said, bailiff. Paige got escorted out still screaming, mascara running, heels clicking like gunshots on the tile. People stared. Phones came out. She tried to twist her wrists away like she was being arrested for loving too hard. In the hallway, she screamed at me, you'll regret humiliating me. I looked at her and said, you humiliated yourself. I just stopped paying on schedule. She froze. Because for the first time, her drama didn't control the outcome. A date did. Story 16. My ex, Sloan, kept calling the 2-year order a starter period. Like alimony was a job that came with benefits and automatic renewal. She'd say, you'll keep paying when the time comes. That's what decent men do. She said it with a smile that always looked like she was daring me to disagree. Around month 21, she started planting the story publicly. She posted, some men think they can just cut you off after everything you did for them. Not mine. Friends commented hearts. Her mom commented, he knows what he owes. It was a whole little cult. Then she tried to corner me at our kids' school pickup. She walked right up to my car and said sweetly, we should talk about continuing support. I'm not going backward, I told her. It ends on the date. Her smile fell. No, it doesn't. I won't allow it. 2 weeks later, she filed an extension request claiming she'd been a homemaker for a decade and needed more time. My attorney brought in her own tax return from the past year, showing she'd been freelancing the entire marriage and had simply stopped taking clients after the divorce. On purpose. In court, the judge asked her, why did you reduce your income? Sloan blinked hard. Because I'm focusing on my mental health. My attorney asked, is this your ad? And put up her website banner. Now, accepting new clients. Waitlist open. Dated last week. The judge's patience ran out. This court will not subsidize strategic unemployment. Denied. End date confirmed. Sloan didn't cry. She went straight to fury. On the courthouse steps, where parents and lawyers were everywhere, she screamed, he owes me forever. A dad walking past with a backpack turned and said, lady, forever ended in the paperwork. Sloan's eyes snapped to him like she wanted to sue a stranger too. Story 17. My ex-wife, Trish, was the kind of person who turned every conversation into an invoice. During the marriage, it was emotional invoices. After the divorce, it was financial. The decree gave her 2 years of support. She told her friends, it's basically permanent. Then she started making future plans with my money, talking about a master's degree she never enrolled in, and a wellness business that was just her buying candles and calling it inventory. At month 23, she sent me a text. We'll keep this going. I'm not ready to be independent yet, I replied. The order ends next month. Trish responded, that's not how trauma works. The last payment cleared. I thought the drama was over. I was wrong. She tried the sneakiest move possible. She sent a request to the payroll department at my company, pretending to be a court clerk, complete with a fake letterhead, asking them to continue withholding pursuant to existing support order. Payroll called me immediately. Is this real? I forwarded it to my attorney, who forwarded it to the court. The judge was not amused. Trish got an order to show cause for submitting fraudulent documents. At the hearing, Trish tried to play dumb. I didn't know it was wrong. I just assumed. The judge said, you assumed you could impersonate a court employee? Trish started crying, then switched to shouting, he owes me forever. I was just protecting myself. The judge's voice went flat. No. You were attempting theft. Trish left that courtroom pale and trembling. Outside, she spat. Enjoy your freedom, I said. It's not freedom. It's compliance. She stared like I'd slapped her with a dictionary. Story 18. My ex, Jenna, treated alimony like a relationship status. When the payments hit, she'd text, still yours. When I ignored her, she'd text, don't forget who you belong to. The order was 2 years. She refused to accept that 2 years didn't mean until she felt satisfied. At month 20, she started sending me links to apartments we could get for her stability. At month 22, she asked me to co-sign because it's basically your responsibility. She even told my girlfriend, don't get comfortable. He still takes care of me. The end date came, and I paid the last check with a strange mix of relief and dread. 2 days later, Jenna showed up at my house with a gift bag. She rang the bell like she was dropping off cookies to a neighbor. When I opened the door, she held the bag up and said, I brought you something to say thank you. Then she stepped forward like she was going to hug me. I stepped back. Her smile tightened. Okay, so where's the next payment? I said. There isn't one. Her face went empty, then hot. Stop. This isn't funny. I pulled up the decree on my phone and showed her the termination date. Jenna started laughing. Too loud. Too sharp. No. No, no. This is wrong. They can't do this to me. She started yelling so hard my neighbor came out. Jenna pointed at me and screamed, he owes me forever. My neighbor, without missing a beat, said, ma'am, you're on his porch. Forever doesn't live here. Jenna threw the gift bag at the ground and stormed off, screaming into her phone like reality had personally betrayed her. Story 19. My ex-wife Claire loved courtroom language. She'd say, pursuant, hereby, and in good faith, like she was starring in a legal drama. So when she got 2 years of support, she called it ongoing maintenance, which sounded endless if you didn't read the fine print. She made it part of her identity. On dates, she'd joke, don't worry, my ex pays my rent. She'd tell her girlfriends, men always pay in the end. Then she got engaged at month 22. That's when I knew she hadn't read the order because the order said support ends if she remarries before the 2-year mark. I didn't threaten. I didn't gloat. I had my attorney file a notice with the court and send a polite letter. Upon remarriage, payments terminate. Claire called me screaming, you can't do that. It's not fair, I said. It's the order. She tried to bluff. The judge will never let you stop. You owe me forever. We ended up in court because she filed to enforce payments that didn't exist. The judge asked her, did you remarry? Claire hesitated. We're basically married. The judge raised an eyebrow. So you did? Claire snapped. Yes, but that shouldn't matter. The judge tapped the decree. It matters. This terminates support. Denied. Claire stood up and shouted, he owes me forever. The judge didn't even flinch. Then you should have stayed unmarried. Next case. Outside, Claire's fiancé looked at her like he'd just seen a stranger. That's when her forever turned into a 2-year mistake she couldn't talk her way out of. Story 20. My ex, Marissa, used to send me Venmo requests labeled emotional damages. They'd be for $12.99, $47.50, random amounts, just enough to be annoying. She'd write notes like, for the years you wasted, and interest. She got 2 years of alimony, and she treated it like a moral victory. She told everyone, he owes me forever. She said it so often I started hearing it in my sleep. At month 23, Marissa tried one last power play. She showed up at my family's holiday dinner uninvited, walked right into my aunt's house like she owned the place, hugged people who didn't hug her back and announced, I'm still family. He still supports me. My aunt, bless her, just said, do you want potatoes? Marissa ignored her and cornered me near the kitchen. So, we're extending it. I said, no. She smiled like she didn't understand the concept. Yes. You'll do it quietly so you don't embarrass yourself. I said, the order ends next month. Marissa's eyes flashed. She marched into the living room where everyone could hear and shouted, he owes me forever. The room went dead silent. Even the TV seemed quieter. My uncle, big guy, veteran, not a talker, stood up slowly and said, forever has a date on your paperwork. Sit down or leave. Marissa looked around, expecting someone to back her up. Nobody did. Her audience didn't clap. They just watched her like she'd started singing off-key. She grabbed her coat and stormed out, shouting that I'd regret humiliating her. But the humiliation wasn't mine. It was hers. Because for the first time she said, forever, in a room full of people who weren't afraid of her. Story 21. My ex, Kayla, treated 2 years like a suggestion. Every month she'd remind me, this is what you owe for breaking my heart. She didn't talk about the decree. She talked about destiny. At month 21, she started prepping people. She told mutual friends she was meeting with the court to make support permanent because he can afford it. She also started telling our son things like, "Daddy has to take care of mommy forever." That crossed a line. I emailed her, one time, calm. "Please don't involve our child in financial discussions." She replied, "Then keep paying forever." Simple. 2 weeks before termination, she filed for an extension claiming she couldn't work because she was homeschooling. We don't homeschool. Our kid goes to public school. My attorney brought the enrollment record. In court, the judge asked, "So why did you claim homeschooling?" Kayla blinked fast. "I meant emotionally. I'm educating him emotionally." The judge stared like he was trying not to laugh. Then he said, "That is not a basis for extending support." Denied. End date upheld. Outside the courtroom, Kayla did it. She raised her voice so the hallway could hear. "You owe me forever. Our son will know what you did." I didn't argue. I just turned to my attorney and said, loud enough for the bystanders, "Please document that she's threatening parental alienation." Kayla's face dropped. She'd expected drama. She got consequences. Story 22. My ex-wife Morgan kept a countdown in her head, but not for the end. For the moment she thought I'd panic and offer more. She'd say, "You'll do the right thing when the time comes." She said it like she was my coach. At month 22, she started sending me reminders of what she called my lifetime debt. She attached photos from our wedding, then photos of our first apartment, then a screenshot of her bank balance with the caption, "Don't you dare." When the last month hit, she tried to recruit allies. She called my dad, who hadn't spoken to her in years, and told him I was abandoning her. My dad told her, "Read your order." She hung up on him. So she went bigger. She posted on Facebook that I was refusing to pay court-ordered support, tagged my employer, tagged my sister, tagged my church. My attorney sent her a cease and desist and filed for a protective order, attaching her post and the decree with the termination clause highlighted. We ended up in front of a judge fast. The judge asked, "Ms. Bell, why did you state he is refusing court-ordered support?" Morgan said, "Because he's about to." The judge's jaw tightened. "That is not refusal. That is compliance." Then the judge looked at her post and said, "You have caused reputational harm with a false statement. Remove it immediately." Morgan's face went white. "But he owes me forever." The judge said, "No, you owe the truth." Morgan deleted the post in the courtroom, hands shaking, while people watched. Outside, she whispered like a threat, "This isn't over." I said, "It is. It's literally dated." Story 23. My ex, Tori, was obsessed with fair. She didn't mean fair like balanced. She meant fair like she wins. She got 2 years of support and immediately upgraded her life. New furniture, new hair, new boyfriend. Then she started calling the payments my compensation. She told friends, "He's paying for what he did to me." What I did was ask for a divorce after she emptied our joint account. At month 23, she came to me with the sweetest voice. "Look, I know it technically ends, but you're not that kind of man, right?" I said. "It ends." Her sweet voice evaporated. "Okay, then I'll make you." She filed for an extension claiming she'd been out of the workforce for years. My attorney brought her LinkedIn showing she'd been working the entire time and had quit after the divorce. Voluntarily. In court, Tori tried to cry. "I'm struggling." The judge asked, "Why did you resign from your job?" Tori said, "Because I thought I could focus on myself while he pays." The judge leaned forward. "So you made a financial decision based on an assumption that contradicts the order." Tori's face tightened. He implied. The judge cut her off. "No. The order speaks. It ends." Denied. In the hallway, Tori saw a few people staring and raised her voice anyway, trying to reclaim the room. "You owe me forever." A woman waiting for her own hearing turned and said, "Girl, forever is a romantic word, not a legal one." Tori looked like she wanted to scream at the stranger, but she couldn't. She'd already lost the only audience that mattered. Story 24. My ex-wife Elise didn't want money. She wanted the power to scare me. During the 2 years, she'd casually say, "If you ever annoy me, I'll go back to court." She'd use it like a remote control. If I didn't answer a text, she'd send, "Careful, but I learned something." People who threaten court constantly usually don't understand court. When the end date got close, Elise emailed me a renewal request, literally titled, "Alimony Renewal." She wrote, "I expect another 24 months. This is standard." I forwarded it to my attorney, who replied with a copy of the order and a polite, "No." Elise went unhinged. She called my new partner and said she was still legally entitled to him. She called my mom and said I was breaking the law. Then she filed a motion claiming I was hiding income to avoid ongoing support. In court, the judge asked, "Where is the evidence of hidden income?" Elise held up screenshots of my Instagram. Me hiking, me at a barbecue, Me smiling. He's clearly doing fine. The judge's expression didn't change. Photos are not financial evidence. My attorney presented pay stubs, tax filings, and the payment history, every month paid. The judge denied her motion and warned her, "Do not harass or contact him outside co-parenting issues." Elise snapped and yelled, "He owes me forever." The judge said, "No, you owe him distance." That line hit like a gavel. Elise walked out shaking because her favorite weapon just got taken away. Story 25. My ex, Rena, thought she could guilt me into extending support by rewriting history. She'd call and say, "Remember when I supported you?" She didn't. I worked 2 jobs while she found herself, but she told the story so confidently that even I started doubting my memory sometimes. 2 years of support was supposed to help her transition. She used it to avoid transitioning at all. She tried 3 businesses that were basically just shopping: a candle phase, a skincare phase, a dropshipping phase where boxes showed up and nothing sold. At month 24, she sent me a message. "So how are we doing this going forward?" "Same date every month," I replied. "No payments going forward. Order is complete." Rena called immediately, not crying, laughing. "Stop. You're being dramatic." I repeated it. She went silent, then said, "Cold, you're going to regret humiliating me." Then she did the grand move. She showed up at my apartment with her brother and started banging on the door, yelling that I was stealing what the court gave her. Neighbors came out. Someone started recording. Rena screamed, "He owes me forever," like she was casting a spell. I opened the door just enough to slide a copy of the decree out. Her brother grabbed it, skimmed, and his whole face changed when he saw the end date. He looked at her and said, "Rena, it's 2 years." Rena whipped around on him, furious. "Don't take his side." Her brother held the paper up like it weighed a ton. "It's not his side. It's a date." Rena's mouth opened and closed. The spell didn't work. The audience was watching, and for the first time, she couldn't bully reality into giving her more. Story 26. My ex, Amber, always talked like she was owed interest. Not just support, interest. Like I was a debt she planned to collect forever. The order said 24 months. She told her friends it was until she's stable, which conveniently meant until I get tired of paying. She started calling the payments my monthly apology. If I was even a day early, she'd text, "Good. Keep learning." If it was exactly on time, she'd text, "Bare minimum." At month 23, she sent me a list. A literal list titled, "What I Need Going Forward." It included continued support, my car after I paid it off, and a reparations lump sum for emotional suffering. When I didn't respond, she added, "If you don't cooperate, I'll make court hell for you." So I made my own list. Payment history, order language, her threats. My attorney filed a motion to enforce the termination and prohibit harassment. In court, Amber tried to pivot. "He's cutting me off to punish me." The judge asked, "Is he paying as ordered?" My attorney handed over the ledger. "Every payment." The judge nodded. "Then he is not punishing you." "He is complying," Amber snapped. "But he owes me forever." The judge's eyes got sharp. "No one owes anyone forever. This ends on the termination date." Amber stormed out, shouting in the hallway that the judge was sexist. My attorney quietly said, "You see? She wanted power, not money." Story 27. My ex-wife Paige, different Paige than the one you're thinking, built her whole identity around being the wronged woman. The 2-year support order became her trophy. She'd show it to people like a diploma. "See?" she'd say. "The court agreed with me." The court agreed she needed temporary help. Paige heard, "Lifetime Victim Scholarship." When month 24 got close, she started acting sweet, baking cookies for our kids' teachers, smiling at me at exchanges, complimenting my jacket. It felt wrong in my bones. Then the text arrived. "I've been thinking. You should keep paying after the 2 years. It would show growth." I replied. "No." Her sweetness vanished. "Okay. Then I'll tell everyone why you really divorced me." I didn't panic. I asked my attorney to send a reminder letter. Obligation ends. Any contact outside co-parenting goes through counsel. Paige showed up at the courthouse anyway and filed a request for review. Her whole argument was basically, she didn't like the ending. The judge asked, "Do you have any new circumstances?" Paige said, "Yes, I'm stressed." The judge blinked. That is not a legal change. Then my attorney presented her recent social media posts where she bragged she'd refused a job offer because, quote, "I'm not working while he owes me." Denied. Paige followed me out and screamed in the parking lot, "You owe me forever." I didn't even look back. I just hit the lock button on my car and let the beep answer her.